Hey friends, it's Leigh Brown here and welcome back to My Kitchen, My Rules. And you can tell that this is going to be an amazing patriotic recipe because y'all know there's nothing more American than apple pie. And so we are going to make an apple pie. Now because I love y'all, I started the prep work early. And so we have a whole bunch of apples that are already sliced. But I'm going to slice you one anyway so you can see a good way to do it. I have this classic kitchen implement. If y'all ever looked at this in the store and didn't know what it was, it's an apple slicer. And I used to have that old Pampered Chef apple peeler core slicer thing, but never did use it, and it was eating up real estate in my cabinets, and so I got rid of it. So you see this cores it into all these nice little pieces, and then I'm going to thinly slice them down so that I have easier to cook slices. Now you can leave them as thick as you want. I just like them thin, so about yay thick. So you see, not a big deal. And then, by the way, while you're slicing, put fruit fresh on it, and it will keep it from turning brown, because y'all know that these things oxidize when you open them up. And I learned about fruit fresh from my grandma. She used to use that stuff all the time. She was so tickled when they started making it. And I've got to tell y'all that because it is July 4th and Patriotic Day, I'm using my fancy cutting board that was a present from one of my local realtor friends, 𝙁𝙁𝘼𝘾𝙃𝙁, who I just love all to pieces, y'all. She's an amazing realtor and a human. And she came over to my house with some other realtor friends and had ordered us a charcuterie board from 𝙑𝙀𝙏𝘼𝙏𝙃, which is a locally owned fancy people place here in the Charlotte area. And darn if they didn't deliver this thing in a Miata. I mean, that is customer service to the 10th degree. And it came on this fancy reusable board. And I said, you know what, Leigh Brown? Let's use that 𝙑𝙀𝙏𝙏𝑃 board for making this apple pie, because it's very American to support small business. And if y'all didn't know, realtors, we are small businesses. And so I would like one day, one of my dreams, frankly, in addition to getting my own Dixie Crystals show, is to have y'all use that hashtag support your local realtor when you use one, because y'all realtors are small local business. But anyway, I digress. So what you need is some apples to make your apple pie. Now if you like grannies, that's fine. They're too sour for me. Golden Delicious is too soft really for holding up in the oven, because you have to have an apple that's got some strength to it. I'm using Honeycrisp because it's my favorite. And you can use other ones too. I guess you could use the Googles to find some ideas. We're going to grease our pie plate here with some Crisco, because Crisco is amazing. And I do have a can of grease up under my sink from making things. That's very tasty. And if you want to use something better than olive oil in your food, use the homemade grease can, especially if it's got bacon drippings in it. In fact, my other North Carolina friend, Wendy Harris, and I were talking about comparing our grease cans from up under the sink, although she leaves hers on the stove top, mine's up under the sink. Anyway, Crisco is what you want to use to get your pie plate ready. You don't flour it, we're not making a cake, we just don't want to make a hot mess. For other ingredients, you're gonna, y'all ready? You need 12 tablespoons of butter. 12, that's a lot of butter. And you're gonna divide it half in two. So we have 2 bowls of 6 tablespoons of butter that's already melted. Make your own life easy. And so we're gonna make that mixture up in just a hot second. And we're gonna take these apples. Now y'all can do whatever you want with your apples. You can just dump them in and make a mess of it. Look, you just throw them in there. Say you don't give a rip no more, throw them in there. I can't do that. Look, my eyes are already twitching. I've got to put them in a pattern. So we're just gonna actually I'm not really gonna make it decorative. I'm just gonna go in a nice little circle here, and I'm gonna pretend that I'm back in geometry class. I think it was was it Miss Melton who taught geometry, or she taught trigonometry? I don't remember anymore. But maybe she taught, well, whoever's watching this that went to high school with me at Northwest, y'all should make a commentary here and remind me who taught us geometry, because that was hard for me. I was better off in algebra. You know, they told us that you would be better in one or the other. And so you got to cover up the whole bottom of your plate here. And by the way, if you're wondering, Leigh Brown, this is an apple pie. You didn't put the crust in there. I forgot to tell y'all, this is a crustless apple pie. And so if you are the kind of person who is watching your figure get bigger during the quarantine, then this would allow you to watch your figure with a few less carbs than a regular apple pie. Although, well, apples are full of them because they're full of sugars. But, you know, it's the sugar that the Lord made, so that makes it good. And then we're going to have some sugar that Dixie Crystals made, which is just about as good as that the Lord made. And so I guess we're still full of carbs, but not as full of carbs as it could be. So before you're sitting there counting and using your math skills and getting all judgy on me, look, just, you know, enjoy. I mean, because the July 4th is meant to be for you to have fun. It is meant for us to celebrate the birthday of this amazing country. And while things aren't always perfect, they were never meant to be. In fact, our founders knew that, because if y'all will pay attention, and in fact, please get your children to read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, because frankly, y'all, people don't read enough anymore. And we all joke about how realtors don't read, but it's not just realtors, frankly. A lot of y'all need to read the Federalist Papers. It's fascinating, even if you're not a nerd like me. And all my friends who went to school with me are laughing in their head right now. They're like, Leigh Brown, you have always been a nerd. And I will say amen and hallelujah. Yes, I have been. So anyway, what they said, our founders, is that this was to create a more perfect union, because there would never be a perfect union. The only perfect is going to happen when the rapture occurs and we get to go to the city of gold. And all I can say is the way 2020 is going, come Lord Jesus, and hopefully carry me with you and don't leave me here. But I don't know, I haven't lived a perfect life by any stretch of the imagination, but I reckon I can keep on trying to do better. Anyway, look, we're getting a pie plate full of apples, and y'all were thinking, this is never going to end, because it does take a while to get them layered in here. Now, the top layers where you want it to be pretty, friends. I mean, honestly, it almost doesn't matter what's up on the underside. Get the top looking decent so that you won't be embarrassed in front of your mother and your best friend. But she probably can't cook, and so that's all right. She'll eat it when you offer it to her. And by the way, back to our July 4th commentaries, make sure that if you are in the Harrisburg area that you join me for my Homemade Citizens Parade. We are going to put flags all over the car and ride slowly up Highway 49. And we're not going to impede traffic or any of that. I don't want to aggravate the highway patrol or the deputies, because frankly, I went to high school with half of them and I don't want to make them mad. But it's a day to celebrate and tell people how proud we are to be American. And I don't know that I'll be singing the Lee Greenwood song, because it gets a little bit schmaltzy from time to time, but I say that and then I sing right along and I get goosebumps with the rest of you. And I will be having my Sirius XM blaring out the windows with all the patriotic songs, probably a lot of John Philip Sousa, some good marches. If you're not a band person and you don't know John Philip Sousa, then please, for all that's holy, teach your children some things they need to know that's better than, what's that mess my daughter listens to? Kodak Black and Lil Wayne and whatever else she listens to. All right, so there we go, y'all. That looks pretty, doesn't it? All right. Now, that was your easy steps. Now, you probably want to stop and look how beautiful your work is. Oh, yes. And so now, we've got our 2 bowls of melted butter. And we are going to get our brown sugar. Yeah, Dixie Crystals. Don't be buying that other brand. And we need to make sure it's soft. Now, if you want to know why mine is soft, you've probably seen my secret. I use the resealable bag and I put it in Ziploc so that it will keep the air out. But if your brown sugar gets rock hard solid, it can be salvaged. Don't toss it out. But get yourself about 1/4 cup and put it in here with this melted butter, which frankly, you could put that on anything and you'd feel like a genius. And then we need some actual sugar, and we're going to be using what? Dixie Crystals. See, and I know I have my Dixie Crystals apron on, and this recipe is not even in their cookbook, but I have a dream, y'all. I have a dream that one day I will be the spokesperson for Dixie Crystals, and I will appear in a cookbook, and I'll get a television program where I can tell y'all the facts on things. And of course, I'm filling up my sugar container because it was slap empty, and so that way I got to show y'all the actual bag for those of you that wonder, does Leigh Brown actually use Dixie Crystals, or she does shilling for them? No, I for real use it. We need about 1/4 cup of the white sugar too. Now, let's see, let's put that in here. And by the way, if you for real want to cut your carbs more, you could probably use Splenda instead of sugar, but be very, very careful because Splenda is extra sweet and it messes with your internal organs, which is why I got off of it myself. And I saw some brown sugar, low sugar versions. I don't know what that mess is, so I buy Dixie Crystals and just leave the crust out. All right, so we're whisking that up so that the sugar and the butter are making a nice little caramelly looking mixture here. And then we're gonna carefully pour this over the top of our apple plate here. And I'm realizing I did not cut my oven on, y'all. It's gonna have to sit here for a minute, and thank heavens I put some fruit fresh up on it, because that was gonna be a disaster if I let it sit here and get oxidized while I waited for the oven to heat up. Because I'm gonna cut my oven on to 325. This is not a 350 recipe for those of y'all that already turned your oven on and you said, well, Leigh Brown's almost always at 350. I am, but not this time. So we're going to 325. Let's cut the oven on. 25, start. Okay, so you see what we have done is we just put this around the top. Okay, so look, it's nothing real fancy. And we're gonna cook this at 325 for around 25 minutes, 30 minutes if you have a slow oven. And then we are going to take it out, and I'll tell you next steps after the next 30 minutes. And here's where we have a commercial break for somebody who wants to sponsor me. You know, you should totally call me, because by the way, the reason I'm wearing a dress on and wearing pearls, I had a closing today because realtors can get some stuff done. Anyway, I'll see you in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, and you'll see what this looks like. Okay, so while our apple and butter and sugar combination is in the oven, we're gonna make the next layer for the top. So you still had 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Then we need some cinnamon, and y'all have seen before, I like Savory Spice because they have this cool little shop in Charlotte. And we need a 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, or as much as you want, frankly. You see I'm using a heaping teaspoon because I flipping love cinnamon, and it's really, really good for you for some reason. I didn't do all the research, but I seen it on the internet. And then, a nice piece of apple. And then we have nutmeg, and you want to use a teaspoon of nutmeg. And I'm gonna make this heaping too, because I seriously love nutmeg. And what you should know about nutmeg is if you have a bowl of Breyer's ice cream, you know, the good vanilla that has little speckles in it, if you get some nutmeg and sprinkle it on top, that is like manna straight from heaven. And then you need some rolled oats. Now, rolled oats are not your usual Quaker. This ain't the quick stuff, the instant stuff, the old-fashioned stuff. Get rolled. And you want Bob's red mill, because that's all the good fancy flours and things. I guess it's organic and, you know, healthy or whatever. Now, these were on the top shelf at my Publix. I had to hunt for them. You can order them on the internet too if you want to. But you need 2/3 of a cup. And since I'm currently using a 1/4 cup measure, then I'm going to ish it, and that looks about right to me. Because this doesn't have to be exact. You're looking for texture instead of perfection. So this is another one of the Leigh Brown ingredients where I like to ish it, and I forgot to get something to stir up my concoction here with. So this is the next layer that's going to go on the top. So what I want y'all to do is have this ready and blend it in so that all of the oats have flavor, right? See, when you make sure that, get that dark cinnamon color, yes, And what we'll do is when our apple pie comes out, we're gonna let it sit for just about 5 minutes. And then this will be the special top layer. We'll mix it in and amongst the apples a little bit. And I'm gonna see if I can't hunt for my brush in the utensil drawer while I wait till the apples are ready. And then we'll put it back in for the final touches. I'll see you in a second. So for real, I know I need a camera crew, people, but anyway, if y'all had some smell-o-vision right now, you'd be just fit to be tied, because this smells so stinking good. And so now what we're going to do is take our little mixture that we made, and we're going to pour it across the top. And by the way, if it hardens up, then stick it back in the microwave for a minute and let the butter get remelted, because if you mixed it up too quickly or let it sit too long while your apples were in the oven, and you'll miss some. And so let's get it all out of there. And then we'll take our pastry brush, because I found it, see, and get the rest of the goodie out of the bowl, because we don't want to waste any, you know. And then we're going to take the pastry brush and kind of get that oat all tucked up into the edges so that we have a nice even layer, and it's tucked in between some of your apples. Now, for those of y'all that want to pretend this is a breakfast item, I would double the amount of oats and nutmeg, cinnamon, butter right there, and it will legit act like a nice little breakfast pastry. So now that we've got it evenly out and in between, got it prettied up there. There we go. Now we're gonna put it back in the oven for 8 minutes at your 325. And then you're gonna take it out and you're gonna say, this is the best crustless apple pie I've ever had. Your family's gonna love it. And now you know you can fix the whole thing in about 40 minutes. That's a no-brainer. So enjoy the heck out of it. Happy July 4th. Be proud to be an American. Wave your flag and love on a neighbor, Patriots. We'll see you next time.